This is 99% Craps.
Hard 10, hard 10. Here's the number.
I'll take the full odds on the 10, 200 on the hard way. The limit on all the numbers, 250 on the 11. Thank you very much.
Say, you played this game before.
Just once.
Welcome to the Red Eye Gamblers podcast. High above the second largest city, west of the Mississippi. Two chronic craps players, talking craps, playing craps, thinking craps. This is 99% Craps.
Coming up on our 20th episode of 99% Craps, I'm on my way back from the craps tables in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Give a recap of this 24-hour Friday night trip. Discuss morning tables and session bankrolls. But first, we start with Friday's win debate. Wednesday, November 27th, 2019, episode 20. The Red Eye Gamblers present 99% Craps. And I guess I will welcome you back. This is 99% Craps, brought to you by one half of the Red Eye Gamblers. Ended up going on a solo trip and didn't record on the way, but decided I would try recording on the way back. So doing things a little different because I'm by myself. So thinking possibly we might try something new and give my other half a call on the way home and see if that'll work. But otherwise, made another trip to Lake Charles. Traffic was horrible. Went for a Friday night. Actually was able to get a free room for a Friday night, and did actually pretty well. Had the normal dilemma I usually do. First session last night, 8 o'clock, was at LAUBERGE, $15 table, and I ended up winning within an hour and doubled my bankroll. And then it was the debate of, well, should I just stop and call it and double your bankroll? That's a great trip. But I'd only gambled for 1 hour. I had just gotten here. So that's the dilemma I always have. So I just ended up shutting it down for the night and decided to gamble the following day since I was spending the night. So realistically, I mean, I think that was probably the smart move to make. If you double your bankroll, and then it's not, a 4-digit bankroll, I think that's the way to go. So anyway, that was kind of what happened, and ended up having a really good night last night. Then got up this morning, and I was here last week and noticed that basically they only have one table working in the morning, one at LAUBERGE, one at Golden Nugget, and for the most part it is pretty packed right in the morning. So pretty much if you're not there before 8, maybe even before that, it's a packed table, and then it's just crowded and not comfortable for me. So I went ahead and waited until afternoon, until they started opening up more tables, and went and played at LAUBERGE. LAUBERGE had $15 tables going. They had 2. I was able to get into my position, stick left 1, and was doing okay. Was betting heavy on myself, doing 10-5-10 on the 10-5-10 on the ATS, and was just getting really, really close. Was needing a 2 and a 12, for either side. But then finally actually hit 1/2 and had the dealers up for me with me, so they were happy. but then started making stabs at doing $66 bets on the 6 and 8 and losing $100 odds on the first point and losing, and then even when I switched over to the don't,
if you only knew the power of the dark side,
then I would get knocked off. And so really things just started going out of control. And this was my first session in the morning, and now I'm debating on, okay, I'm down 50% of my bankroll, or of my session roll, or my session bankroll. And now it's like, okay, well, 50% is kind of my rule, and so I need to stop. And I didn't. I kept going down, and I had about maybe 25% of my bankroll. And was struggling, making a couple of slow moves. It was a $15 table, so I was creeping up with $18 6 and 8s and getting to 30 on the 6 and 8s, and then slowly getting those up to 60 or 66, and so was able to jump back in, and got back to 3/4 of my bankroll. And again, I'd only been there for maybe a half hour or so I thought, okay, well, let's try this again. And I ended up falling down again and ended up losing everything, which goes against every single one of my rules. And the only rationalization I had to it was, the night before I doubled my bankroll, so therefore, I'm even, which is not the way I wanted it to be. And so bad on me for not stopping at 50%. These are just the lessons you're going to have to teach yourself. For as much discipline as you have. I preach it all the time. It is really, really hard to live by. You get so emotional and you think so much during the game. It's hard to focus and keep that discipline sometimes, and it definitely happened to me. So second session, first one in the morning, I end up losing, and then so I'm like, okay, so that was LAUBERGE this morning, and then after that I went over to Golden Nugget and bought in. They had $10 tables, actually, one $10 craps, one $10 crapless, and then they had a $15 crap table. So 3 tables going, and I was able to get into my spot on the $10 table, and ended up doing rather well. The whole table was kind of doing well, or at least one half of it was. When I started, I think a guy was rolling for at least 30, 45 minutes, hit several points, hit 6 and 8 multiple times, and I was waiting for him to finish before I bought in. But I knew that the table was warm, and so it was definitely worth waiting for, because the next guy ended up rolling for just as long, and I was up 300, 400 on one shooter. And so dice came to me. I decided to pass. I was going to let the dice go and roll around. And, basically I decided to, instead of just showing up at the table and rolling, that I'd wait for a little bit and then roll. So that's what I ended up doing. I let the dice go around, and it was an up and down table. One half was hotter than the other, and so I kind of bet accordingly to that, and was basically just doing 6s and 8s and trying to get them to go up to 150 as fast as I could, and then see if I could hit them.
Thank you for calling. Sorry I was unable to take your call. Please leave a message and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Have a great day. Thank you.
Hey, give me a call. I'm driving back. I'm thinking about putting you on the podcast via phone. So give me a call, all right? Later. Well, that didn't work out so well, but maybe he'll call us back. All right. So last night was pretty amazing. It was good. I actually was really excited. I had actually been to the casino last week, last Friday. Was able to get a free Friday night at LAUBERGE, and ended up winning on the Friday night and then losing on Saturday, and so I broke even last week. And then so this week, well, it was the same thing that happened last week. I was up, 50% of my bankroll within the first, hour I was there. And then you're like, okay, well, I'm up, my goal for what I wanted to do, but I just got here. So, then I played 2 more sessions, and with those 2 more sessions, I ended up losing what I won. So I ended up breaking even. I think it came back with like $75 or $80, but it's like I had 2 small losses, which equaled the big win. So I evened out, and I'm like, well, if I would have just stopped when I was up, but then I'm not gambling anymore, and I just got there. It's a horrible feeling that you have to gamble, but you don't. And I think, that was kind of where I was, is I knew I was going to come the following weekend. So, why not stop? Why not, once you're up and hit your goal, stop. And then you've got the following weekend or the next trip. Serious gamblers play regularly. So it's not like, you got to go all in. You always have the next trip, the next game. And that's something I forget about. Or not, I don't forget about it. I just... I don't have the discipline to stop when I need to stop, and I guess just experience and slapping my hands when I do that. Hopefully that'll end up fixing me. But anyway, last night I did well. Well, so I ended up, there wasn't a lot of people at the table. There were like 2 on my side and 1 on the end, and so the dice were moving pretty fast, and so I was kind of slow betting on everybody else, doing 6s and 8s, and then maybe 10s and 4s, and then doing the bonus, the ATS, at 5-1-5, just to get a little action. Table was warm. Half of the ATS hit on another shooter, so the 5 paid 175, so that was good. And then I ended up shooting 4 times at this session that I did well, and the first 3 I was getting set up, and then I'd end up losing everything. So I'd be out there with $30 6s and 8s, and I'd be able to press it to 66. And then I'd, be able to take one of them to 150, but before the 150 would hit, I'd 7 out. Or, a lot of times it was I'd roll for a while and I'd go all over, and I would basically be needing one for the tall and 1 for the small in order to hit the bonus. And I would, 7 out, after I get everything set up, everything built up, and, then you end up losing, a couple $100 at a swing, or even more if you start laying odds or start putting odds down. That's 5 times or 10 times odds. That's what really hurts. So bankroll management, you've got to really bet in tune with it. So the losses that I had were manageable, but I just, every time I was swinging, I just couldn't hit it out of the park. And so, my 4th turn rolling, I ended up doing 10-5-10, $25 on the pass line, $1 for the dealers, and then I had the dealers up for 2-1-2 on the ATS. And then I rolled forever. It was amazing. I ended up hitting, I think, 4 or 5 points. I hit the hard ways like crazy. I was hitting hard 10s. I knew my dice were on because I was hitting hard 10 like several times. And anytime hard ways start hitting and I'm throwing the hard way set, that means they're hitting for the moment. And so was able to capitalize on all my betting finally, and then I ended up hitting not just one half but both halves of the ATS with 10-5-10. So both halves paid $350, and then the 5 on the 175 ended up giving me $825. So that was a nice little recovery deal. So that's how I was able to double my bankroll within short order, because that was within like an hour. I played from 8 p.m. to 9:10 is when I cashed out. And after I won, you've got this little high and you got this big bankroll, and you're up, and you're like, oh well, I'll go ahead and start at $60 6s and 8s instead of work back up. And that's what you should do, idiot. You should work back up. Don't just assume where you're at, because what I do? Oh, I lost $200 on the guy next to me, or the next guy, and then another $200 on the guy after that, and then I decided to cash out. I should have just cashed out right after my win, but it didn't happen. So, but no, overall that was fun. But again, so that was my dilemma: is you go on a trip to a casino and you're going to spend the night, and you plan on gambling, that night and the next day, and you make your goal. It's different if you're gambling, with buddies or something else. But when I don't know, it's something I struggle with. I'm trying to win, I'm not trying to play. And so if you're trying to win, then, the more I think about it, the more you should stop while you're ahead. And then, because otherwise you're digging out of your hole. And that's what I ended up doing today, which I've talked to you guys before. I love digging out of holes. I love, I love the way you feel after getting yourself out of a hole, And so I lost my bankroll this morning, and then ended up gambling again at Golden Nugget around noon, and ended up doing well there. Actually was able to double my bankroll there, which ended up making me even from last night. So I actually kept my winnings, and I basically evened out today. I had a bad session in the morning and then a good session in the evening or in the afternoon, so they evened out. So it means my win from last night stands. And so it was able to double my buy-in from last night, which makes me have a pretty good bankroll now. And then going forward, I think I've got a plan. So, and that was the deal. I guess one of the things was I was planning on buying in for a bigger amount, and I didn't because the table minimums were low. It was a $10 and $15 minimum, so I didn't buy in for as much as I thought I would. I just bought in for I bought in for $1,000. So, anyway. So, I guess I want to apologize to you guys for not being on the air or not being on the podcast. We've had, I guess, a little bit of a medical emergency happen. My better half was diagnosed with lymphoma cancer, and so he's been going through chemo for the last several months. And so we kind of figured this out over the summer, and then he started chemo in September, and he just had his 5th round last week, on Thursday, so just a couple days ago. Round 5 out of 6, so we're almost done, and he's doing great. It's definitely taken some of his energy out of him. Cannot really go gambling. He can be on his feet for a while, but it's it's going to take a toll on him, and he doesn't think he can focus quite so well. And if you're not feeling it, you shouldn't play, and so that's kind of where we're at. But meanwhile, and then me going by myself, it just feels weird talking to y'all without him next to me. So anyway, wanted to give you guys a heads up that that's what's been happening, and we're almost out of the hole. I think it's the middle of December when for his last session, and then we're planning on having a trip out to Vegas in January. Was able to get some free rooms at the Cosmo and the Cromwell, so we're going to do that for I guess a little celebration. So that'll be January out in Vegas. So we are planning that trip, and then I've been lucky. I know I was telling you guys I wanted to try to see about getting more Friday nights or get weekends out in Lake Charles, and they finally gave them to us, or finally gave them to me. So the last 2 Fridays I've been out to Lake Charles, trying to show my support so they can invite me back. And so we'll see what happens. So these are my first 2 Fridays. Anyway, I'm gonna keep this short and sweet. Wanted to let you know we are. I'm reading more of my books. I think what we're gonna start doing maybe is sharing with you guys some of the authors of the books that we've got. Give you a little bit of a book review, even though we haven't written anything down about it. But I think we can just talk about it a little bit generally. But we can list all the authors. So you guys can go find books as well, and then really want to try to see about getting into the history of dice and gambling, and that's really been fascinating me. So I'm kind of nerding out in it right now and going down all these rabbit holes of tying dice all the way back to early Egypt, the Mesopotamian times, getting dice. They found dice more than 3000 BC, which makes dice over 5,000 years old. But my question is still who really introduced gambling? Who came up with who was actually credited with inventing dice? And it's pretty funny because nobody is. It's too old. It's like who invented money? It's things like that. So it's really intriguing to really go and just start looking into all of this stuff. So I'm digging on that right now, and then following dice, how they evolved through the world, and then how they ended up basically how craps ended up in America. Anyway, just wanted to give you guys a preview on, I'm still doing my homework while we're not doing these podcasts. So hopefully we'll get back to get some live travel action to casinos shortly. Hopefully before the end of the year. But if not, we'll be right back in January after he's done with his chemo. So anyway, guys. Really appreciate you guys sticking with us and listening to us. Take care, be safe. We'll talk to you later. Coming up on our next episode, we continue with our next casino road trip. Post-trip reports from the casinos of Lake Charles, Louisiana, the Isle of Capri, L'Auberge du Lac, and the Golden Nugget. The Red Eye Gamblers, thank you for your time, and hope you got a little something out of this week's podcast.
Here's to rolling 7s on the come out, and may your 6s and 8s always be hard. Cheers.